Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. What's going on? Let me see here. We got our chat. We got some people trickling in. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everybody. Like I say, how are you? I'm okay. I've got a bit of a headache, if I'm honest. Like I don't know what it is, but oh, not feeling the greatest. But maybe that'll change. Maybe today we'll make some progress on our Spring Boot app, and you know it'll be better. Maybe the headache will just go away. I don't know. I find what we're going to do today, if it works, and it often does, but if it works, it's one of the most satisfying things you can do um, to code. And it's one of those things you can do when you're tired, right? You can be like, you just have to like, it might just work out of the box. I don't know. I've literally not tried it, right? Um, but we have an interesting Spring Boot build with Create DSL and GraphQL and I don't know, whatever. We've got some stuff in there, right? So my goal today is to like got the coffee, got the water going. I'm self-medicating. It's good. It's fine. I mean, water's not medicine, I suppose, but coffee is. So yeah, let's teamwork makes a dream work. Let's all make sure to stay hydrated. Absolutely. So good. Yeah. Let's see here. I don't know if this was coincidental or not, but over in LinkedIn, my buddy Andrew, it's like you need coffee, and then over in Google, on YouTube, Deshaun's like let's make sure to stay hydrated. So yeah, good stuff. I think we're on the same page. It's serendipitous. So today we're gonna turn our Spring Boot app into a GraalVM native image, or we're gonna try. Like we'll see how far we get. It should be fine. What could go wrong? Let's see here. Present my screen. Oh, share. Yeah. Coding when tired with GitHub Copilot is dangerous. Absolutely. Well, coding when tired, just period. Right there. That's dangerous too, right? And coding when you're not tired is also dangerous. Let's just say coding is dangerous. Like it's not like real danger, like the brave people on the front lines, or whatever. But there's not always good stuff. Hello, hi, Badia. How are you? Hello, Simon. Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Okay, we're gonna make this app work as a GraalVM native image, and this will be the first time I've done a non-trivial app. No, that's not true. I did a few other ones. No, the Spring Boot, the Spring Batch auto config that we worked on a few weeks ago, that was in Gradle, and I had to make that work in GraalVM as well. But this one, I am not sure. We have a lot of stuff here. This, I don't know, for folks who are just joining us, we built this app, and it's got Prometheus, it's got Grafana, it's got observability, it's MongoDB, it's got Zipkin, distributed tracing and telemetry. It's got some controller devices and exception handlers, and we've got some HTTP endpoints. And do we have a GraphQL? I think we created GraphQL. I'm not sure if we kept it. I know we created it. I just don't know if we kept it. Yeah, it looks like we still have the GraphQL controller. So there's a lot of like moving parts here. And I will be interested to see what it looks like to turn this into a GraalVM native image. It's not for those of you who are have been living under a rock of happiness, where you're sort of immune to stressful news. Or no pain, no gain, right? There's an amazing opportunity. Hi, Ramil. Hi. There's an interesting opportunity here. We have this thing called GraalVM. A question people often ask is, hey, I want Java to be more efficient, memory efficient, and to start up more quickly. And there is a way to do that, right? If you are able to prune the class path and remove all the extraneous types that aren't being used, that's one way to optimize it. Another is to turn that code into operating system and architecture specific native code. That's another. Hello, Kunal. Hi, welcome everybody. So if you do those things, if you do those kinds of things to your code base, well, it's no longer Java, but it runs really quickly, right? What it is, it's a native image, basically. It's a native code, native binary. And GraalVM can actually do that for your Java code. It can do that, but it requires you to tell it about certain things where you're having fun, right? That's the That's the thing, is you can't just have the fun. You have to account for it in JSON configuration files, which is by definition not fun. And so things like reflection, fun, JNI, that puts the FU in fun, that's for sure. Reflection, serialization, resource proxies, resource loading, all that kind of stuff, all that fun stuff you might do in a Java application. You need to account for it in these JSON config files. If you do that, then GraalVM can do its magic trick and convert your code into operating system specific and architecture specific native code. And the resulting binary just flies. But somebody's got to account for that. So Spring Boot 3 ships with an AOT engine, which, like I said, in my experience, 85% of the time, it requires nothing from me, right? It just works. So we'll try that first. I would just be, I'm just sort of, maybe it's the headache. I'm just a little dubious. So go ahead and start this. Well, I know actually I need a proper shell, don't I? Okay. So the first things first. I haven't done anything to the application. It's not even running. Let's turn it into a native image. So GraalVM, and then tasks, because we don't know which task actually does the native image bit. Build boot image. That's this. Is it? Wait a minute. This is how I can tell it's going to be a long day. I do this all the time. How come I've forgotten? Build boot image. Oh, I don't have. That's what it is. So step 0, friend, is you need to make sure you've got GraalVM configured, and I'm not sure that I do. No, I don't. Okay, so first trick. Start.spring.io. Go here. Add that. Nope. Add GraalVM. And copy and paste that. Okay, now, middle. What paths do we have? Talk to me. We've got build native compile. There you go. So native compile. There it is. So you've got native run and native compile. This is, we're gonna start with this, right? Let's see if that gets us where we're trying to go. And in the Maven world, this is basically Maven minus D, minus P native, minus D skip test because YOLO, and then native compile, I think, right? I think that's what it is. So you do that to get a native image in the Maven world. And let's just see what this does. It's not like we're using things that are in of themselves unexpected. It's just sort of they're sort of like synergy, the combination there of 80 to 85% of the time it requires nothing. That reminds me of that ridiculous Anchorman. What is it? It works 80% of the time. It works 100% of the time, or something like that. Something ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. So this takes a minute. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So please work. It's actually gotten further along than I expected. We might actually get to the point where it compiles, but then we get weird runtime errors. Which is, I suppose, fine, because at least those errors are kind of self-explanatory. And this is where this could either wrap up really quickly and we could just be done in 10 minutes, or it could be like another week. Okay, so what just happened? It worked, but build native compile. Please work. Hey, it's failing because there's no database, right? There's no service. Okay, so that's fair. Okay, let's see here. Docker compose up, and I want this. build native compile boot 3. Please work. Wait, whoops, did I do that wrong? I did do that wrong. Okay, wait, so shut it all down again. I'm gonna just do Docker Compose up here, and in another shell, I'll do the binary. Okay, everything seems happy. Then build native compile, boot 3. Yeah, we got the data. Okay. Well, good stream, everybody. Good job. Like, I guess we're done. Let me see. 8080. Okay, yeah, sure. Graphical. Seems happy. Seems very happy. Okay. Minus D. Yeah, I should have done that. Let's see. So that's fine. What about the telemetry? Did anybody? Let me see. It was created. We created all that stuff with Jonathan. By the way, did you all watch that episode with Jonathan Ivanov? Not yesterday. Not this week. Earlier this week. Fan-damn-tastic. Just amazing. I love that episode. Yeah, we're in the 80 to 85% bucket. Right. I love being in that bucket. You are right, sir. You are correct. Whoa. How come when I interact with my iPad, only then does it like hike up the sound? Okay, so Jonathan joined us, and he's the one who basically he did most of the work. I was just there to ask questions, and he helped us make this application just that much more observable, right? And to get somebody like him to take time and to condescend to help somebody like me, I love it. I love this life. So okay, we've got this up and running. We got infrastructure on port 9090. That's Prometheus. Okay, so localhost 9090. Okay, that's up and running. Let's see. Do we have any data in there? Execute. Nothing yet. What else? 9090 3000. That's Grafana. Localhost 3000. Ooh. Fancy. What did he say? Spring Boot 2.1 statistics. Heap used, non-heap used. Well, we don't have JMX. Although, did you see yesterday? Was it? I think. GitHub.com, Oracle. Please let it be this one. No, that's my issue. GitHub. Oh, wow, issues. Support for Apple One. Yeah. Let's see. JMX. There's something I just saw yesterday where they actually had an experimental patch for, maybe it's a pull request or something. Pull requests. Add option to support SBOM as part name it. Let me see. Add reboot. Okay. JMX. No, that's not it. Let's see. Well, I don't know. There was something I just saw the other day where it looks like they're making progress on that, and which is great. I mean, that's going to be good for everybody. Is it open? I don't care if it's open. I just want it to be a PR. JMX. Okay, whatever. Okay, so we got, let's see. We got Zipkin 9411. Let's go try that out. Localhost 9411. And hit run query. Okay, so we got actuator, we got Prometheus. We want to do something from our service though, right? So it's actuator Prometheus. This is the stuff. This is the endpoint being scraped by Prometheus itself in our Spring Boot app, but we haven't really done anything with our app itself, have we? Except for this. Is that reflected here in the output? I don't know if we do. Find a trace, run query, post GraphQL. Yeah, so there's that right there, and it's showing the query. So it's doing distributed tracing. It's showing we posted to GraphQL, did a query. We saw the field. It shows us the field of the GraphQL endpoint that we're querying, and then there's the call in MongoDB and the time and the duration and all that stuff. Yeah, looks like we did it. Okay, good game, everybody. Good game. I think we're done. It's like this is way easier than I thought it was going to be. I guess we could talk about something else. I mean, this is it's too easy. Okay, so I don't even have a git commit to show for this. It just worked. I love it. Yeah, exactly. Like good stream, everybody. Okay, let's just do something else then. Who wants to talk about? I don't know. We can talk about the details of what's happening behind the scenes, because it did work, but it's not always going to work. And I was hoping that we'd get some like exemplar issues that we could look at and maybe sort of dissect some of the how you address issues with your native compilation. Except, darn it all, we didn't have issues this time. I blame myself, right? I should have broken it. I'm really pretty good at this. Yeah. Oh, I do. Yes, you're right. I added the native image dependency. That's right. That's how I made this work, is by adding the native image dependency. That's the code that I wrote today, right? So that does count as that's work. It's not a lot of work. Just, I'm a far cry from getting my my KLOC, my 1,000 lines of code in for the day. But let's see. I don't know. GraalVM native images for the win. Good. Get push. So okay, the result of that, the benefit of that is obvious, I hope, which is we started that application up. Is this it right here? Yeah, this is it. This is a netty issue, right? It's not really, and doesn't, and most of the time it doesn't really cause any issues, but it's just a little warning telling you you should provide a specific operating system specific integration for netty. You get that on the JRE as well as on native. Our application starts up in 134 milliseconds, so less than 2/10 of a second, and that includes integration with Prometheus, with MongoDB, with an embedded data, with Postgres. No, not Postgres. MongoDB, Prometheus, Zipkin. A lot of moving parts, and that's all there as well. And it's got the actuator and a full web framework and a web server. So that's good. Let's see what the memory is on this. Actually, that's the other thing I kind of like is, let's see, what's the PID of this application? PID is this, and PS - O RSS to look at the resident set size, 162 megs of RAM. So that's amazing. That's like your production worthy app with all the integration and all the toppings and all the extra niceties, all there. 162 megs of RAM. Hey, Deshaun. Actually, that's a great question. How do we provide the OS specific netty integration for DNS? You have to add the jar, right? I don't remember which jar it is always, but let's see here. There's a jar. So like this one, it even tells you add that. Check whether you have a dependency IO netty resolver DNS. Okay. So first of all, there's your dependency. Good. And you wanted to do okay, let's see. VMap. What's it, my PID? Yeah, 35. Grep. Physical. Let's see. Physical footprint 99.6 megs, 107.1 megs. Well, that's nice too. Which one do I believe? Oh, RSS is just, that includes the operating system dependencies, right? That's the cache stuff that all libraries are going to use, like for networking, for example. If I'm loading networking bits from the operating system, that includes stuff that all processes will use. So I guess that must be some of the difference. What else is the difference in VMap versus PSO minus RSS? I don't know. Either way, very, very small footprint, for your application. I bet this is a far side better than what you were doing, what most people get when they run this application on the JRE. Okay. I was going to ask you, Deshaun. What about build packs? Can we containerize this? What does that look like? Oh, okay. VMap without the grep. Bold. Okay. Not this. That's fun. Fun. We're having fun. This is nice. Is the stream okay? Yeah, I think so. What's wrong with the stream? Yeah, it's fine. I'm still here, so hopefully everything else is fine. Okay. I don't know what all this is. This is disgusting. I feel sad for myself. What am I looking at? Oops, my dog. Good to see you, Andrew. Yeah, wait. Good to see you too, buddy. Like sometimes sometimes it just works, and that's the way it should be. But you got to be prepared. I poured an extra strong cup of coffee, thinking we're gonna have at least some work to do, and it just isn't the case. So that's okay. We'll create an error. That's the process memory map. Is that showing me what things are being linked? Hold on 1 second. I gotta close the door. Do-do-do. My kid has like a free period in the morning, so on some days, so she's here still. Usually it's quieter in the house at this time. Good to see you, Armin. Nice to see you. Okay, so anyway, this is cool. I want to get Deshaun. What do I need to do to get this working on an M1 for buildpacks? Is that going to be supported already, or do I need to use your custom builder? Like, I want to containerize this thing as a native image, and I feel like I'm asking for too much. I know if I just put this. So what I'm talking about here, friends, is I want to turn it into a Docker image, and normally, yeah, you just do Gradle w build boot image, right? And that'll build a Docker container for you. So that'll do that. But that works for everything except for an Apple M1 Mac. So if you're doing like Linux containers, or x86 containers on CI environment or whatever, you don't even have to worry about this. But since we're doing it on a Mac, we've got some extra work to do. Okay, tasks. Oh, no. Okay, let's see. So we need to configure our Gradle task. Okay. Boot build image. And we're going to say builder equals Deshaun builder tiny environment equals EP native image true. Sure. Okay, so now let's try that. Let's see. So we're gonna customize this image and use a custom builder for the build pack mechanism behind the scenes, and that's one that my friend Deshaun here has built. Oh, that's great to hear. I would love to see this finally land so that we don't have to worry about this, because it's so frustrating. It works everywhere else. It's just Macs with M1s, and Macs with M1s are, they're pretty good. They're going to be big one day. You just watch. I think Apple's onto something here. So, okay, let's try it and focus. Boot build image tab Gradle tasks. Boot run boot build image. I feel like I did. Didn't I do that? Whatever. Let's just fix it. Okay, I didn't do it. Yeah. Okay. So is this going to build my native image as well? Do I need to do like a profile or something? I'm not sure what's happening. Either way, I'll be impressed if it works. So this is going to be a Docker container. Looks like it's using Paketo, but I don't see any mention of native. Oh, it's downloading it from Liberica. So it must be. Okay, so this will create a GraalVM native image inside of a Docker image, inside of an OCI image. So this takes even longer. The first time we did this, it took whatever, a minute. Let's say this takes 2 minutes, right? It's just that much longer. But the point is, you're going to run this. You're going to run this. When I say you, I mean you, the dear audience, will probably run this in a CI environment, and then you're going to just create a Docker image on Linux that is ready to go in whatever environment you need it to. So this will, who cares, right? It takes 2 minutes, but who cares? It's not going to be something you have to do in your rinse repeat cycle as you're developing. Oh, right, that's what this is. You're right. Okay, so the BP native image, that's the environment variable that we're setting to tell the builder that we want to create a GraalVM native image. Oh, that's nice. Nice. And if we want a regular JRE application, although in this case, why would you? Ours just seems to work nicely with GraalVM. So if you want a regular full fat like JRE application, you can set this to false. Okay. And of course, that could be an environment variable. I'm sure you could do like ext property and bracket property name to dereference it for some sort of configuration. Come on. This is the kind of stuff I've told people about this before, but this kind of stuff really bothers me. It just takes forever, and I don't like to wait. And I finally got this. Finally feel like we're part of this group. We're part of the group of people that understand this cartoon. This cartoon. That's the #1 programming excuse for legitimately slacking off. And my code's compiling. Hey, get back to work. Compiling. Oh, carry on. Right. So that I get that now. I'm finally part of that group, and I've told people about this. I did ask Oracle to do something about this, and I asked them in the official Oracle GraalVM project to please play elevator music during the native image compilation process. And I asked them. I said, I already hear elevator music in my head while I do these sometimes long-running compilations. I just like everybody else to hear it too. Thank you in advance. And ooh, nice. So that's cool. We had that's so cool. That Vaadin Flow stuff is the fact that Hilla and Flow now work as native images. I worked with them on that for years. It's literally been more than a year now that I've been working with that team on like trying to make it work, and it finally seems to have all come together in the last several months, and they've done such a phenomenal job. Just amazing. And now seeing what you're doing here with making it work on AMD and ARM. That's amazing. It's like this community is amazing. Anyway, I asked them to do elevator music, and some nice folks from Red Hat had a suggestion about maybe we could use this elevator music. And from last time, persistence issue. What persistence issue? It wasn't that persistent because I don't remember. So anyway, they did prototype a Josh Long mode, which I kind of like, and it basically I asked them to play music when doing the compilation, and I was hoping it would show something like play elevator music, and then they prototyped it, but they said that they didn't think it would get accepted, which makes me sad. Okay, let me see. Did it work? Oh, look at that. 4 minutes. That's absurd. Okay, so here we go. Docker run. Wow. Okay. Wow. So it can't connect to localhost because localhost is inside of a Docker issue. During the live demo 2 weeks ago where he was showcasing some new Hilla features. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So okay, it can't connect to localhost. I didn't configure any environment variables, so it's having trouble connecting to that. But it worked. It started up, like a shot, just straight up and running, quick. I can't even, where's the start time? I can't even see it here. Oh, 0.123 seconds. So wait. Does that mean it's faster inside of a Linux container running on Docker? Does that mean it's actually faster inside of emulation, inside of Linux, inside of Docker than it is on Mac as a native image directly? Oh, sorcery. It's ridiculous. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. So there we go. That's. I can't believe how well things is. Linux is always better. Haha. Yeah. I think it's because of, look. I love Linux, but I think here we can say that the GraalVM team correctly, very correctly, has prioritized Linux. They wanted to make sure that worked well on Linux. Yeah. So it's and so the results are telling, right? On the same machine inside of Docker, it actually runs faster than the native Darwin native image. That's fantastic, you know. Good stuff. I guess I don't know what else we could cover at this point. Let's just go dive into the idiosyncrasies of the GraalVM native image compilation, because I feel like we can create some scenarios that require us to fix it, so you can kind of see where, if something goes wrong, how you would address it. It's just working, right? This is actually, you know, I just wish I was using one of those other frameworks right now that has more bugs. You know, it would be nicer for my content production demands, but oh well. Okay, so let's see. We've got our application. Let's create some native stuff. Native, oops, okay, configuration. Okay, I'm just gonna create some code. Can you all see that? Is that font too small? Let's see, there you go. It's a little bit better. Okay, good. So we have to be aware of certain scenarios where if you do something, let me just use application runner in this case. Okay, good, add this in. Good. Okay, so yeah, here's the application runner. We're gonna let's say we want to do reflection, right? So I've got, I have customers in here. Is that true? Customers equals set.of new customer 1 A, new customer 2 B, etc. Right? And so now I've got, oh, it's UUIDs, isn't it? Okay, UUID dot. Okay. What is it that you want exactly? ID is a string, name, and then Boolean true. UUID.random.toString false. Right? Okay. And good. So there we go. There's our array list of, or our set of customers. And all I want to do is I want to write them out as JSON. Okay. So I'm going to do this directly using Jackson. I'm not returning this from a REST endpoint. I'm not returning it from, I'm not using it in Spring integration or some context where there's an implicit conversion happening between handoff from one component to another, like from the boundary of a controller to the representation in the client with content negotiation and all that stuff. It's just me using Jackson directly for my own purposes. So I'm going to go here. I'll say for var c system out object mapper dot write value as string. Okay, there we go. Good. All right, good. So there's our thing. This should fail if I try and do this in a native image, right? Actually, let's because I don't want to wait for that whole reset time each time. Better yet, before we introduce bugs in this code base, why don't I just introduce bugs in some other code base? Let me just already committed git status, git commit native OCI images that work on M1 Max. Okay, git push. And we'll go here, start that spring.io, and just call, add the GraalVM support, add the web support, hit generate. Okay, UAO, zip. Better GraalVM support for Windows. How is the GraalVM support for Windows? I know that people use Windows, so I don't doubt your experience. I don't know what it's like to use Windows unironically. Like I actually have a Windows, no, that's not true. I have a Windows virtual machine. Have you ever used Parallels? I'm sure VMware does it as well, but Parallels has this goofy thing where like it'll let you run a Windows app in Windows, but the UI, the window itself, in like if you're using whatever, Paint, right? The Paint window will actually overlap with your Mac desktop. So you don't see the Windows desktop, you just see Mac desktop and paint.exe running on top of it. And it's pretty nifty. So I sometimes forget that I actually have this Windows VM. And the only reason I use Windows VM is to log into expense reports, right? And to do all that terrible stuff. You heard over on the Paketo Slack that GraalVM in Windows subsystem for Linux is actually a thing now. Wait, so are you saying that you have a Windows machine? Why? What happened? Do you need help? Blink twice if you need help. What? So confused. This has been a weird day. Okay, so, oops. Okay. Cool. Okay, so, configuration class, native, configuration. Oh, Valve, okay, yeah. Bean, application runner. Okay, so same as before, we'll create a record here, customer integer ID or int ID, string name. And the goal here is to break our code and run into some issues. So, team, Mario helped you pick it out. That's cool. You two are some of my favorite human beings. New customer to our customers. Okay, I've just got some sample data here. And I did this because they don't have it individually selectable, but in this case, I don't actually even care about having a full web server. So did you know if you just want JSON support, there's actually a starter for just JSON? It's not, for some reason, they don't let you could hit Command B on the initializer and then add it, but you can just do it manually like I just did. GraalVM debugging isn't supported on Mac and Windows. Fine, okay. Import that class. And for var C customers. And we want to use the object mapper, the JSON object mapper there. We could put that down here. And go through this, voila. Okay, and then object mapper, right, value as a string, c.toString. Okay, good. All right. And let's run this. Just make sure it works in any form before we try doing the native image version of it. So what do we get? Nothing. We got nothing. What happened? Runner. My runner? Am I doing something crazy? Let me see here. And again. Okay. For var C, Oh, I didn't. Of course it's working. I'm sorry. See, friends, whoever said I needed coffee, you were right. You can put the Twitch stream on the big screen. That's cool. Okay, so what did what did we get here? We got. I want just the text. I want the right value as a string. There we go. So let's create some JSON. Okay. Um, Jorge, what do I think about bringing more Kotlin into my content? I love the idea. You know, I don't know. We could do something in Kotlin. We could actually, you know what? Maybe that's the video we do tomorrow. Because like I'm starting to feel like we've covered the gist of Spring Boot, right? The basic, like, we haven't done too deep a dive in any particular thing, but broadly, if you watch the whole of these 10 videos, you'll see how to pull together a Spring Boot application, how to look at data and web programming and observability, and how to make it more production worthy, and today how to package it up, you know, how to turn it into a GraalVM native image that runs in an OCI container and so on. So yeah, I'm maybe I could do another thing tomorrow, wherein we build a different app very quickly and see some of the amazing opportunities implied by Kotlin, right? Whoa. I just had you ever get that ringing in your ear every now and then? I just had it for like 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, so let's see. That works. Let's compile it to a native image. There we go. W native compile. And I'm expecting this to break. I sure hope it breaks. It'd be amazing if it didn't break. And it's really amazing what they've done with the GraalVM native images in general. You want to run a native. So there's no easy way to do cross compilation, but there is a GraalVM GitHub action, and GitHub Actions. I don't know if we should definitely do a stream on GitHub Actions. I love GitHub Actions. It's one of those things where I do not understand why I'm not paying money. I'm so grateful that I'm not paying money, but why am I not paying money for this? You know, it is absolutely fantastic. They charge you if you start doing things in private repositories, but most of my work, if not all of it, is public. You know, like very large majority. Like I think I have maybe 5 private repositories in my entire. You know, I've got like 600 plus different Git repositories across different organizations, like across 50 different organizations. So the fact that I'm maybe paying for 5, and I'm using GitHub Actions there for like in a paid way, and for like 5 of them is just blows my mind. Microsoft has done us all a huge freaking favor with GitHub Actions. So anyway, that GitHub well, that's what I'm saying. You can do GitHub Actions. You want to test the pipeline image without having to buy an OS X device. Well, thanks, Rohit. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. Very, very kind of you. So I don't understand, Simon. You want to test the pipeline image without having to buy an OS X device. Can't you do that in GitHub Actions? There's an OS X runner for GitHub Actions, which is where I was going to go with that. But now I think I'm missing something. Oh. Okay. Anyway, the native image compiled. Let's see if it breaks. Native compile. Oops. Yes, good. Something is working the way I expected it to, which is to say it's breaking on command. So it's complaining because we're trying to reflect. When I say reflect, we're trying to serialize with JSON, not like Java serialization, this object. And in order to do that, the JSON object mapper has to reflectively iterate over the fields in that type. So we need to tell GraalVM about that. One way we could do this is to do the work that it's doing already. If we go to the build here, generated AOT resources, and we have this file here called reflect config. We could create our own, right? This is what was automatically created for us by Spring Boot, but we could create our own file here called, well, we'll just do this actually, source main resources. So source main resources, and paste that meta inf blah blah blah, and we can call this refactor, boot default. Oops, there we go. That way it's different. I don't want to be redundant. I'm just going to delete the stuff that can contribute uniquely. So get rid of that. All right. There. So you can see all I'm doing is I'm going to write configuration that says that this type, which is com example oops dot customer. Okay, I want to say that I want that type to be reflectable, and here it's create methods is init. So does it automatically register everything if I don't specify something, or do I have to explicitly specify everything? Well, either way, I want the name of the method is going to be ID and name, I guess. So we want the constructor and we want ID and name. Basically, I want it to register that type for me. Oh, shares that, buddy. That's awesome. I want to say thank you to all the Spring developers too. They are like heroes, and I appreciate them, and they do us all a huge favor. You're right. They do great stuff for all of us, and they're just amazing. I love them. Okay, so we've got the constructors, and I don't know how the record would look like. Actually, I don't know if it needs the fields. I just copied and pasted this reflect config from the generated one in the build directory, right? And we'll talk about why that's generated. But basically, Spring Boot automatically creates these config files for you when you do a native image compilation, and it didn't do it for our customer here. So what I was saying was, if you wanted to do it yourself, there's a few ways to tell GraalVM about that. One is to just create your own meta-inf native image A/B, reflect config file, right? That's one way to do it. Another, and this is, I don't recommend that unless you have something very static that's going to stay static and you can maintain it that way in a library. Another is to just programmatically register a hint. So here I can say class, hints implements runtime hint registrar. We'll implement that, and we're going to say hints.reflection.register type customer.class, and then you have a question of what categories you want to allow, right? So what kind of reflection do you want to allow? So you can do declared classes, declared fields, invoke, introspect, blah, blah, blah. If you're not sure, you can just cheat, just do that, get you everything. And then you need to register this hints class. So you say import runtime hints.class, voila, okay? Oh, hey, 2 a.m. in the Philippines. I love the Philippines, amazing food. You just want to say oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. I'm glad you got to be here. I hope you're getting something out of it. It was it's a little bit of a disappointment that everything's just working so perfectly today. I like the weird incentives that YouTube gives you. I want broken code, please. That's ridiculous. Okay, so we've got this type. We've got these hints. These programmatic hints. Well, did you, Simon? You said you might have misconfigured. Did you have this in your build? Yeah. Well, don't get ahead of me, Simon. We're working on one step at a time here. Like I said. Let's see. So Gradle, this is the fall through generic way to do it, right? So native compile. So we'll wait for this to finish. 90% executing. That other one that we did earlier, the Let's Code Spring Boot one, that well, the hints class generates the config. It generates the JSON file, and that JSON file tells GraalVM that the class uses reflection. Yeah. But you can also do code generation, and we'll talk about that in a second. If you want to do something manually, there's an incredible subsystem. Simon, I'm not sure. It's hard to see, as you know. It's hard to debug. But if you're using Maven, and I understand, just make sure you do GraalVM native support. I don't think it changes anything, but this is what your build should look like. Oh yeah, it adds the native Maven plugin, and that's it, looks like. So if you've got that, then you should be able to do native : compile with -p, capital P, native, right? That'll work for Maven. Okay, what do we got here? Did it work? Did it compile? Is it soup yet? Yeah, there it is. So 52 seconds. So build native compile. Oops. There you go. So that programmatically registered a hint for this type, and you can check that out. You can see the generated code here has customer. There you go. So we're saying I want to register this one. I want all constructors, classes, constructors, query methods, etc. I want everything basically. And oh, buddy, that's so cool. Thank you. Finally able to catch me live from India. You've been a great inspiration to me in my development journey this spring. Oh, you and my friend from the Philippines are gonna make me cry. Thank you so much. That's more than kind. Thanks for joining. I'm only sorry that this is I'm sorry that it's so late in the day, but I'm trying. Like, I'm not even a morning person. People who know me know I'm much happier at night. But because I'm trying to do these live streams, for better or for worse, I figured the best time zone for me, at least, would be early in the morning. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I would just do the hint. No, I would do the one. I wouldn't write the JSON config files. Yeah, I would write the hints, the programmatic hints. That way, it's type safe. You don't have to refactor. Or you don't have issues refactoring. You don't have to worry about synchronizing a JSON file with your Java code. Just let the API do it for you. Okay, so this is a way to register that hint programmatically, saying that we're going to reflect upon this type, and you can see it registered it for us automatically based on what we wrote here. You can also, as Simon alluded to, use register for reflection binding and pass in that class, but that only works for reflection. There's many other kinds of hints that you might want. So actually, let's keep that hint here. Instead of keeping that hint for that, let's do serialization, right? So I want to register customer.class as before. And let's see, what's the issue? Oh, we have to make, this is not serializable? Can records be serializable? Why not? Yeah, okay. So there we go, it's serializable. So I want to register this for serialization, and I do want to do that. Is that an object output stream? I haven't done that in a while. Let's try this. Try var object output stream. New object output stream. And then we want a file output stream, new file output stream. And then we want a new file. And we want that system property utils.resolve placeholders home. Let's pop out. Okay, so I'm gonna we're gonna do some actual Java serialization, which you should never do ever. Like it's never the better way to solve the problem. Okay, so there's that, and okay, so OOS dot write. Okay, and we can pass in an object, I think. Okay, object, yeah, write object, and then the object we're gonna write is that. Okay, so. Oh, getting some good information from Deshaun here on ways to fix my Twitch stream. Okay, I will follow up on that after this. But okay, so let's just try this. Let's see if that works in the JRE. Okay. What did I just do wrong? Yeah, it ran out, and somebody's having a very bad day down there. I hope everybody's okay. Okay, so why is this suddenly complaining about incompatible features? Did it do that before? I don't know that it did. What could I have done differently? Was it just this? I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Let's see. So we want to turn this into a native image just as before. Go here, cd, oops, GraalVM native compile. Okay. Let that run. And I suppose we could have, like, what I should have done is not enable the hint for serialization, and we could see that that would break. Actually, that's probably more demonstrative. But basically, this code won't work unless we have this line here, unless we explicitly tell GraalVM, hey, I plan on doing serialization of this type, Java serialization, not like Jackson or whatever. Okay, so we're doing two things here in this demo. We're demonstrating that register for reflection binding works, right? And so that this will just work automatically. And we're demonstrating that if you're doing this incredibly terrible idea of object serialization using Java serialization, which is considered harmful, then that will also work, which, why? Let's see here. Good. Build native compile, oops. Okay, there you go. And if I go to my desktop, there's a file called out. So rmrf desktop out. Yeah, top. Right, there's my customer data. Not sure what it's doing exactly. Oh, is that the customer XPTA? Oh, it's because I keep overriding it, don't I? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so if I go here, right, object customers. Okay. Good. Actually, arguably I should just be doing this in both cases, right? So that's cleaner. Okay, that's much better. Let's try that again. So yeah, there you go. There's the serialized version. And so you got, when you run the program, you get an array of the values and you get the serialized collection as well. So good. So my point is that that now works, and that'll work in a native image as well if we were to recompile it. I guess that's just, there's just a few things you need to be aware of. Like serialization, reflection is the big one that I see all the time. If you load a resource, right? If you register a resource bundle, or if you have a, like a fave icon or some images that are loaded in the web app or whatever that are under source main static, not source main static. If they're in the class path outside of your source main resources and you want to make sure that you can load them, you need to load them here, right? So anything in source main static should be fine. Basically, I wouldn't worry about those, but it's stuff outside of that directory that'll cause you trouble. So if you have a jar on the class path, and then that in turn has an image, and you want to make sure you can do class.get resources input stream for that input, for that image in that jar, you need to register that resource here, or the pattern, or if it's a resource bundle for internationalization and that kind of stuff, then make sure you use the base name, right? If it's called messages, underscore in or en, then you would just say messages. Okay. What else do you have here? Hints, dots, proxies. This one's kind of a big one. Oh yeah. Okay, let's try this the old-fashioned way. Let me see. So with proxies, I don't know. We don't really spend a lot of time talking about proxies because most of the time you don't need to worry about it. But let's say I have an interface called, I don't know, greeter. Okay. So, and void greet string name, right? There you go. So I've got this greeter and I want to create a proxy out of it, right? Okay, let's create a proxy out of it. you can do this the old-fashioned way. You can say proxy dot do proxy instance class loader dot get system class loader, and then the class of interfaces is greeter dot class, and then a new invocation handler. And what does that give you? That gives you an implementation of that interface that whenever a method on the interface gets called, this callback will be invoked, right? And so here's a pointer to the proxy, this. Here's the name of the method that's being invoked, and here are the arguments, if any. So I can say, so if method.getName equals greet, right? So I can do method dot. I can call the method on an actual implementation, for example, or I can just do whatever I want here, right? And so in this case, the method is void. So I'm just going to say, math.random 0.5 how versus right, whatever. Okay. So that proxy is, I can cast it to an instance of the interface or interfaces that I've implemented. So greeter, okay, like that. Object.greet world, right? Okay, and so we want to concatenate that to this. So args is going to be 0, right? Let's see if that works. Wait, what did I do wrong here? Class loader, it default. I mean, I need this. Yeah. Oops, application dot class get class loader. Let's just try that. Still not happy. Unable to make protected final Java class. Throws class format error. Module Java base does not opens Java Lang's unnamed module. And unable to make protect. Okay. That's bizarre. So what about this? Gradle boot run. Still unhappy. That's a bit of a bummer. Check okay, accessible object, greeter, if method. Is it not public? Try that. Okay. Okay, that was it. Okay, so basically it's not public, which is annoying. So there you go. I get this. When I do that, I actually have a proxy. Here I'm doing it manually. I'm not telling Spring about anything, and I'm not using the Spring interfaces or anything like that. And so I'm going to have this trouble when I try and create a proxy in compile time with GraalVM native images. So add Gradle native compile. Okay, we'll let that run and do its thing. But you can see the solution is pretty straightforward, which is you just register that proxy. You say hints.proxies.register JDK proxy greeter.class. Okay, and I need to reference it from that. Okay. Okay. Fail first time over. Oh, wait to add it to the class to different compile code. Please, no, not yet. I don't know. That'll be another. But we don't have that, but we do have a mechanism. So if you want to do it yourself, you could. And I'll show you how. Let's see here. So there it is. The failing. This should fail, right? This should fail. So go to build native compile. Oops. To include pre-generated class in the class path. proxy, blah, blah, blah. That's a weird error, actually. That doesn't have anything to do with our error. You're getting some lag on the stream. Oh, what did you said that? My mic seems to be acting up. I don't know what to do. Nothing has changed. All I can do is hope it's leveling out. Okay. Wait, when I do GraalVM, it's taxing my CPU. Oh, that makes sense actually. So it might be that my streaming is being interfered by the GraalVM native image compilations, which is hilarious. Okay, let's see. Activity monitor. Okay. So Java is taking 484%. It's very, very overtaxed at the moment. Oh. 563%. 748%. So it might be, is it bad right now? Now that I'm doing this ridiculous compilation? Interesting. Okay, so build native compile. Oops. Oh, still broken. cglib enhancement. Powell, great question, buddy. Great question. Well, I'll leave that up there for a second. The answer is Spring Academy, right? So Spring Academy. We have free resources here. We have free resources here that you can use to learn Spring, right? And it even gets you on the way, on the journey to certification as well. So start the courses. You can do a lot of stuff for free. There is an upgrade for the access to pro courses and lessons and the Spring Certified Professional Exam voucher. But basically, just do this. Create a free account, and there's a lot of stuff here. And the goal is to make it as cheap and easy as possible for people to on-ramp to Spring Boot. I would definitely go use this, spring.academy, right? Okay, let's see here. Okay, so what are we doing wrong here? Oh, we want customer. I want greeter class. Let's try that, because maybe that's the issue. Okay, so no problem. And also spring.io guides, spring.io/guides. I always forget about those too, but these guides are amazing. They're free. They're easy to start with. They're 10 to 15 minutes. Each, like, hey, I want to build a web app. Okay, great. Here's exactly what you have to type. Here's exactly what you can expect. Here's the data you're going to see when you invoke the endpoint, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the code. You can git clone the whole thing, and then just start writing the code and following the steps. And they're very, very specific. They tell you everything. There's like every directory, every file that needs to be created, what the directory structure should look like when you're first starting versus when it's done versus when it's completed. Yeah, you're gonna create this class in this file, etc. And there's probably, I don't know, 60 guides. I mean, there's a lot of guides here. Look at that, so many great guides. And then there's tutorials. So like if I were you, I would start with just the guides, all the stuff up here, right? And then if you do one guide a day, just try to do one guide a day, doing one guide a day. How many? Let's see here. Uploading. Oh, building. Consuming. Was it all JSON? That's pretty cool. Okay, well, whatever. It must be a HTTP, like Ajax or something. whatever. The point is they're all there. Really, really good, right? Just do one a day, which includes coffee software. Oh, well, I mean, that's, we're doing okay. Okay, so let me see what happened there. CGlib runtime enhancement is not supported. Proxy enhancer. Huh. That is bizarre. Oh, is it because the type above? Is it because I have to like instantiate the top one? Does that make a difference? It shouldn't make a difference. Honestly, I don't know where the issue is here. I'm getting like before I had this example, I didn't have the issue. So like if we get rid of that, do we care anymore? Does it break still? Did I do something off the sidelines? Let me restart that. And by the way, this is not even how I would normally create a proxy. I'm here like just for the sake of demonstration, showing you the wrong way to do it. And now I'm like hell-bent on making the wrong way work, which is still the wrong way, right? More likely, instead of doing this, you're going to use the proxy factory, right? So PFB, and I can say proxy factory dot proxy. Sorry. Yeah, is that right? Get proxy. Proxy interface is greeter.class and a new method interceptor, right? Much cleaner contract. So I'll say so I'll do all getting started guides, and that should give me a bit of a view of what you can do with Spring. Yeah, I mean the guides are great because they're if you see a guide that isn't relevant and you don't care about doing that thing with Spring Boot, then don't do it. It's fine, right? Like you'll be okay. But there's guides on lots of different things, and they're not like deep dives. They're just sort of a tour, a walking tour of all of the wonderful world of Springdom. Okay, so here I'm going to say if method invocation, invocation dot get method dot get name dot equals greet, then where's my original code here? All right, and I can get the arguments, so it's no longer an array. Args dot it's invocation dot get arguments. Okay, there you go. Good. And here, same thing as before. I can cast it down and say pfb.greet world. Okay, same basic approach. It's just that here we're using this very convenient thing where if we are using an actual concrete class instead of an interface, this will still do the right thing. It'll create a CGlib proxy. Okay, so and by the way, you can pass in, you can use the proxy factory bean as well to add multiple methods, right? So proxy factory bean, so var pfb equals new. Let's just call this proxy. Call that proxy down there. New proxy factory bean, right? AOP framework. Okay, PFB, add advice, new method interceptor, and that's just this logic again. It's not there. PFB dot set target, and if you want to actually delegate to an actual concrete class implementation, you can, or you can just do a target class. In this case, it's greeter. It's the interface type. I can just add interface as well. That's the same trick in this case. And PFB dot get object var result equals greeter. Okay, so I can use result or result 0. There you go. And actually, if I did set dot of result 1 result 0 dot for each g dot greet world, right? So call both of them. Two different ways of getting the same result, basically. Okay, and normally I use this one. This is like the most flexible, but this in turn behind the scenes is using this, and this in turn behind the scenes is using the low-level stuff if you're just doing JDK interface-based proxies. It's doing a lot more. It's very convenient, but it's starting out with that. Okay, so where's your world? Okay, so good. So I have two different things, both of which should break catastrophically if we try and do a native image. So let's go ahead and kick off that image. GraalVM native compile. We'll let that work. Oh, and then somebody else earlier, the person who asked earlier about code generation, don't worry, we're going to get there. It's one of my all-time favorite features in the new Spring AOT engine. What we're looking at here is the AOT engine inside of Spring, right? It's the ahead-of-time compilation engine. And you can do code generation. You can generate not just the JSON files, but Java code, right? Using Java Poet, which is a library from Square. And we have a wrapper around it. And so we use it in Spring AOT itself. A lot of the stuff that you see when you generate native code, a lot of the stuff you see is done by this AOT code generation, right? So like if you look at AOT sources, here we go, org, like all this is generated through code generation, but it's the same mechanism that you can use. You can create you can do your own code generation, just like we are here, and we'll talk about that in a second. Well, in a bit. Okay, so there you go. So that broke, understandably, right? And at least it broke in a consistent way. This is what I was expecting to get, which is, hey, you need to define this proxy with those types. And notice how the error is very helpful. It says you need to define a proxy with these three types, including your greeter and these other three interfaces that Spring Boot adds when you create the proxy, right? So let's do that. Let's just take a hint and give a hint. Okay, so proxies.register JDK proxy, and we want this, and we say okay, this, and get rid of that. Okay, so what greeter dot class and decorating dot class. Okay, there's that. So now if we rebuild it, yep. Somebody asks, Turan asks, how many videos will be this series? I don't know. I think we're kind of getting close to a point where I feel like we could wrap it up for a little while and then start on some new stuff. I think there might be like somebody suggested we might do something in Kotlin. That sounds like a good idea. I don't know. I'm just sort of like walking through the wide and wonderful world of Spring Boot. But Spring Boot is the foundation for everything. So I'm trying not to like pull everything into this. I just wanted to be like, hey, you're building a Spring Boot app. You're going to care about data. You're going to care about building a web endpoint or a network service of some sort. You're going to care about observability and production worthiness. You're going to care about packaging, which is today. We could talk about. I don't know. I suspect there's probably one or two videos at most left. Because I'd like to get back to where we were before I started the series, which is Spring integration, right? Spring integration is, neat, nifty. Okay, so there you go. That worked. See that? Isn't that nice? We created proxies, and that actually worked. But again, how often do you do this kind of stuff? How often do you, in your code, your business logic, do this very cute sort of stuff, right? This is low-level framework code that you shouldn't have to do. This is the kind of stuff that is like the province of a framework, right? So if you need to do that kind of thing, then yeah, you're going to need to register a hint. But again, it's just not very common to need to do that, right? So we looked at serialization. I think I'm going to do the AOT stuff today. Yeah, it's still only an hour and a half into it. I think we can look at the AOT stuff. Yeah, we got another half hour at least before I start wanting to step away and I've got to get a podcast out today, friends. I mean, I got a busy day. I think the weather here is kind of miserable today, and so I'm, it's sapping my energy. Okay, so yeah, that's the hints. That's how you get Spring to automatically generate the JSON config files for you. But if that doesn't work, and by the way, these runtime hints registrars are you can put these in auto configuration, right? Yeah. Thank you. I hope you have a good day, and thanks for watching, and thanks for joining us. And I hope we cover what you were hoping to have covered, and if not, well, yeah, there's always next stream. So this hint class, I put it on a configuration class. I just put it on any Spring component, and I just said @import runtime hints. Another way you could do that is to create a file, source main resources meta-inf. Is it Spring? And then you create a file called runtime hints registrar, basically. Yeah. So basically, you can package this up in a text file and ship it, right? And so if you look at the Spring runtime hints registrar, right? Is it that? No, it's a native. Okay. What is the jar? I just want to see the auto configuration. So we'll go to external libraries. We'll go to Spring Boot. That's this one right here. Auto configure. Meta-inf Spring. That's the auto configure. Oh, AOT.factories. And then you just say, where's the runtime hints registrar? This one. You have this line, org Spring frame. So you do this. You create a text file, meta-inf Spring AOT factories. In that, you create a line that starts like this, org Spring framework, or AOT hints, runtime hints registrar equals, and then comments delimited class names. And so if you package this up in a jar and then add it to the class path, it'll automatically get involved whenever anybody does a compilation with that library in the class path, right? So you can programmatically register hints for types and then package it up in your library, and people will, and it'll just work in a GraalVM native image. But of course, these hints are kind of like blunt instruments, right? They have no awareness of what Spring is doing. You're just adding these hints no matter what, right? You're saying register this type, this hint for this type called customer, and register this JDK proxy. But that doesn't even, you don't even know in this case if that class is ever going to be used, because you're not analyzing the Spring application context. And the Spring application context may or may not have a bean that uses these hints. So you might be generating hints for no reason. There are some overloads. You can say register type, and you can where's my reflection? Hints dot reflection dot register type if present, right? But that's still not very subtle. What that's doing is saying if this type is present, then register this hint. But that doesn't tell you if the type's being used in the context. It just tells you whether it's on the class path or not. And so if you want to do something that's aware of the application context, friends, then you have a couple of options here, right? And right now I've only got one bean. It's the application runner. But let's say I created a bean of type greeter. So bean greeter. Okay. And here I'll just do the work I did before. That turn. Okay, so there's my greeter. This is, we can keep that stuff there, but let's inject the greeter here. And I will say greeter. But there's my bean of type greeter injected. I've got a bean here. Let's say I want to register this proxy, but only if the bean is discovered in the application context. Okay, so we want to get rid of this proxy. Okay, and then we're going to create something that is aware of the bean factory, okay, or the bean definition. So so we'll say my, okay, and we'll say implements bean definition registry. No, sorry, it's a bean definition bean factory initialization AOT processor. Okay, there it is. So we're going to say my that, right? And it implements methods. This one in particular. So what this gives you is a chance to post-process the bean factory where your bean definitions live. So I can say bean factory AOT contribution, and I can actually look at the beans. I can say, okay, bean factory got get bean names for type reader dot class. Okay, are bean names, and that's going to give me an array, right? If you look at the type here, it's an array of string. So I can say for var bean name. In bean names, I can print it out. Bean name. Okay, so good. So we've got this bean name. Now what? Well, I can see the type is there, right? If it's there, then I want to register a hint. And so here, I'm going to take this same thing we did here. It's the same basic code. It's just now we have the ability to look at the application context and decide whether something is required. And you can do that with this. You can say code dot, sorry, not that, generation context dot get runtime hints, then do that, right? Just like before. So proxies dot register JDK proxy, and then it's the same basic code. Actually, we extract this out to just a variable called hints. Okay. That, and get rid of that. Good. Okay, so we're doing exactly the same thing as before. But hi, Thomas, welcome. For those of you who are just joining, we've been looking at AOT, GraalVM native image compilation, right? And plumbing the depths of the abstraction so that if you run into an issue, you can use it to write code that works. Okay, so we're iterating through the beans. This is a little redundant. I could just say something like, okay, well, if bean names dot length greater than 0, right? That kind of thing. That works much more naturally. Okay, and then up here, for var bean names. Okay, good. So we want to register this, and you can do that. You can actually programmatically register. You can just register that as a static bean, right? So like this, or you can put it in that file that we looked at earlier, the AOT factories. Okay. So let's turn this into a. So we'll see how many beans there are. If the bean names dot length is greater than 0, then we're going to programmatically register this right here. Okay. And if we've done our jobs correctly, then this code should still work with its proxies and everything. We'll see it. Oh, goodness. And that code, by the way, the AOT code that we just wrote, that gets evaluated earlier on. So you can see right there, BN greeter. It gets evaluated during compilation, right? That's the important, interesting thing here is that we've got a Spring Bean, right? It's a regular Spring Bean. It's got access to the Spring, not all the beans in your context, but beans at that time are available to you, right? And notice that I've gone to great pains here. I'm getting the bean names, not the bean. Don't get the bean. If you get the bean, Spring will create the bean, which you don't want. Right now, you're just looking at the metadata about each object in the application context, not each object itself. So, yeah, do that very carefully. Okay, it worked, right? So by doing that in that way, I was able to tell it to generate this code based on the application context. I'm able to look at the beans in the application context and use that to just to discern what should be registered or not. Okay, good. Now, there's another one, AOT.factories. We looked at that. Bean factor initialization, AOT processor, bean registration, AOT processor. This is the whole bean factory. I tend to like this a lot. There's another interface. This is per bean, per object in the context, right? Like this. I'll run to. Okay. So there's that, and it's the same idea. You're returning a contribution, just like we're doing here. But here, no, not this, not bean factory. I want bean, this one, bean registration AOT processor. What's that? There you go. You can return a registration for each individual bean, right? You can actually look at the bean itself and say, okay, if registered bean.get bean class is assignable from breeder, for example, right? Then you can do something dynamically. You can say return new bean registration, AOT contribution, etc., etc. So you get a chance for every single bean to look at them and analyze it, and then yeah, the annotation processor is executed. So great question, Jorge. That processor is evaluated at compile time, and so if you saw the very beginning of our live stream, we talked about how the Spring application context gets created, right? And what it does is it creates a application. It creates a bean factory. It creates a big bag of objects, and it creates metadata about them. But those bean definitions that live in that bean factory, that's an actual type called a bean definition. Those bean definitions, where's bean? It's this root bean definition, blah blah blah, right? If you go here, abstract bean definition, right? That bean definition is a metadata object. It describes, it describes objects in the context. So when Spring starts up, it creates a context. It starts up. It creates a context. It creates the beans in the context, and they all get wired together. And it doesn't matter if it comes from Java config or XML or property files or whatever. It all gets done, right? Now, the beans get created only after they're all wired together. So when we do this AOT stuff, at compile time, Spring creates a bean factory full of bean definitions, but it doesn't start them up. It just creates the bean definitions, and that's it. The metadata objects, and then it finds all these static AOT.processors, all these different AOT.factories, and it invokes them at compile time. So your code gets to run at compile time thanks to the Spring Boot Maven plugin or the Gradle plugin, right? And yeah, it's fantastic. So here's how you can dynamically run at compile time: is you can run these AOT lifecycle hooks. Okay, so same idea. You get the idea, right? Proxies, reflections, blah blah blah. Okay, good. So I'm not going to build this one because in this case it's redundant with that, right? I quite like this because I have all the beans. It's very useful sometimes. In this case, if I just want to look for one bean, okay, great, I can look for one. But if I'm looking for, maybe I need two beans together, like I want to do something where there's a synergy between two different beans or something like that. Okay, so now talking about code generation, my friends, you can do that. That's the incredible thing here, is you can write code generation. And the way you do that is to use this code thing right here, right? We're just going to call it code. And you say code dot add initializer, and you give it a method reference. And here is where I get a little, this is Java Poet, right? So you can, let's see, how do we do that? We want to say code methods add my method, okay? And I want to use the builder. I'm going to say that this method is, it has this annotation, that has parameters. I want to add arguments, right? Add parameters. There you go. I can add a parameter. I can say it takes a string, and the name is going to be my string, right? Blah, blah, blah. And so this is a method reference. And then the two method reference, but I want to still build it. So code, I can add code, and literally I could just add Java code if I wanted to, right? I can do system.out.println hello world, right? You can do amazing things here, right? And again, you have access to the bean factory. You have access to the shape of the objects. You can get their classes, right? You can reflect on the types, not the instances of those classes, but the classes themselves. And you have the ability to say what beans are going to be present in the running application because they're all in the bean graph already. So now I've got this ability to generate code with information about the bean factory at compile time, right? So let me see, add my method reference like that. And let's see what that gives us. Okay. Method parameters, oh, is not supported. Yeah, because I need to have a method of the type of bean that I'm registering. Let's see, what if I just get rid of the parameter for now? Okay. Okay, so it's already generated the code. We can go up here, generated code. Where's my code? AOT sources, oops, application, bean definitions, bean factory registrations, greeter. This one, it adds this method, right? I've added this method. It's not doing anything right now. It's being called, right? You can see that this code gets run when the application starts up, and it's invoking this method, right? In this method, I can do whatever I want. In this case, when the application starts up, it'll run system out hello. When I run it in a native code, when it starts up after it's been compiled, it'll say system out println hello world, right? I'm code generating that at compile time, and this is a pretty silly example, but you can see it's being done all over the place, right? All this stuff is being done with that same mechanism. Okay, let's see. Okay, build, native compile. So, hello world. Okay. Well, okay. Good stuff. I think we actually covered a lot, despite my thinking we were gonna be stuck like having to do native image compilation today. We could definitely do a deeper dive on this stuff. Actually, I recommend if you get a chance, go watch youtube.com Spring Source Dev, right? This one. And there's a video I did on Spring Tips, my playlist. Where's my playlist? Here we go. Spring 122, Spring Tips. And here, come on. There's a video I did on GraalVM and AOT and all that stuff a few months ago, and this is 2 hours. It goes into great detail on all the minutia of the GraalVM native image compilation mechanism. So check that out. I think we're in a good place to kind of like call it a day. Oh yeah, link it into the chat. Good idea. Come on. Paste. There you are. Go watch this video when you can. Very highly produced, polished, in-depth thing. But it'll illuminate all the different possibilities. With that, my friends, I think we're going to call it a day. I'm not done. I've got like at least a podcast to get out and a video to produce. I've got a new video I'm going to throw up hopefully today if I get enough time. All right, everybody. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks again.